The Miraculous Awakening. 7 prophetic days of divine revelation for the ambitious and lazy soul. In the quaint rural village of Willow Creek, a storm was brewing, but it wasn't the weather that had the townsfolk on edge. No, it was the holy winds of prophecy swirling inside the chapel as Pastor Sarah delivered a thunderous message that echoed through every heart. God will reveal his plan over the next 7 days to those who seek with earnest hearts. The air crackled with tension and anticipation, and among the crowd was James, a devoted but complacent churchgoer, feeling the weight of his family's financial struggles like a heavy anchor threatening to pull him down. Was he deserving of a divine revelation? His heart raced at the thought. As the days passed, James grappled with self-doubt, yet something stirred deep within him. Each morning he awoke to find the sunrise brighter, more vivid, a flicker of divine light piercing through his lingering despair. Miraculous coincidences began to align with Scripture in ways he couldn't ignore. One morning, while praying at the chapel, he noticed a crow cawing outside. It was as if the bird was reminding him of the sparrows that God feeds, igniting hope within him. But doubts from villagers who dismissed his aspirations whispered in his ears like echoes of a lost battle. Then, on the 4th day, he faced a crisis. With every setback at home, the despair threatened to swallow him whole. Desperately praying in the chapel, tears streamed down his cheeks. Suddenly, an ancient figure appeared beside him, an elderly woman with wise eyes sparkling like stars. It was Matilda, the village's patron saint, known for her miraculous powers. She shared stories of faith and perseverance, her voice a soothing balm that stirred a deep purpose within him. "Seek and you shall find, dear James. Open your heart, and God shall guide you." The 5th day brought even more miraculous signs. James gathered his family, and they prayed together with newfound urgency. A warm light enveloped them, filling their hearts with peace. By the end of the day, they received unexpected financial help from an old friend, lifting the burden that had weighed so heavily. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. On the 6th day, with each prayer uttered, James felt stronger, almost invincible. He called upon the community, urging them to unite in prayer, and they did. A transformation rippled through the village. Miracles began to unfold. A lost child found, a sick man healed, and those long burdened with worry found peace. James became a beacon of strength, his faith sparking revival in hearts dulled by complacency. Yet, as the 7th day loomed closer, a question simmered beneath the surface. What if the answers he sought weren't what he expected? What if the miracles were only the beginning, and the grand revelation awaited him just out of reach? James stood at the precipice of a new beginning, a call to something greater echoing in his heart. An unresolved tension lingered in the air, beckoning him onward as anticipation curdled into the unknown. As dawn broke on the 7th day, a soft light filled the chapel, casting gentle shadows across the wooden pews. It was a day of divine expectation, charged with a sense of destiny. James could feel the air vibrate with possibility, like strings on the verge of a symphony that had yet to begin. He entered the chapel, his heart a drum of hope and trepidation. Today wasn't just another Sunday. It was a pivotal moment, the day of revelation. He knelt before the altar, eyes closed, breathing in the familiar scent of polished wood and waxed candles. In stillness, he surrendered himself to the presence of God, a tranquility washing over him like a river. "What is your plan for me?" he whispered, words heavy with yearning. As if in response, the chapel doors creaked open. Pastor Sarah stepped inside, her demeanor radiating an ineffable energy. The congregation buzzed with anticipation. Today, they were all seekers, hungry for divine insight, and Sarah's joy sparked a fire of excitement among them. "We are gathered here on this blessed day," Sarah proclaimed, lifting her hands toward the heavens. Her voice was steady, filled with authority. "Today, God has a message for each of us. A revelation is upon us if we open our hearts and listen closely." Elated, James felt his spirit soar at her words. Anticipation wrapped him tightly, urging him to lean in. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the corners, but he barely registered it, his focus unwavering. Every soul present was on the edge of their seats, ready to discover what God would unveil. Then, as the sunlight streamed through the stained glass, casting vibrant colors across the floor, James was struck with clarity. It was not about rewards or the outcomes he had been envisioning, but rather a calling to embrace the journey of faith itself. It dawned on him that revelation was not just a singular moment. It was a process and unfolding of purpose through every trial, prayer, and act of love. As the service progressed, testimonies flowed from hearts set free. A woman stood, recounting how her once crippling anxiety had been lifted as she learned to trust in God. Others shared how their faith had grown through community support and kindness. James could feel the collective energy, a living tapestry of hope and healing being woven in the room. But in the back of his mind, questions still lingered. What had God in store for him? Was there more he needed to do? The flame of longing flickered within him, refusing to be extinguished. At the service's close, Pastor Sarah beckoned everyone forward to gather around her, the air thick with excitement. "We will pray together," she said with certainty. "Let us now ask God to reveal our next steps." James joined the circle, hearts beating as one. Hands were clasped, voices rose in prayer, resonating like a heavenly chorus. James felt the warmth of each hand connected to him, each one a thread woven into a sacred cloth of faith. Then, in that very moment, a profound peace enveloped him, a divine whisper echoing within. "Your journey begins now," it seemed to say, a promise drifting on the breath of the Holy Spirit. As the congregation began to disperse, adrenaline surged through him. The day was not over. It was just beginning. Questions raced through his mind, urging him forward. What exactly did this journey hold? What was the divine calling waiting just beyond his reach? The realization should have grounded him, but instead, it set his heart ablaze with a new quest for understanding what lay on the other side of surrender. What deeper miracles awaited? The answers eluded him, but now he had the burning desire to find out. As the last echoes of prayer faded, James stepped outside the chapel, the warmth of the sun embracing him like a gentle hug. The world seemed clearer, vibrant colors splashing the landscape around him. Each bird's song felt like a note in an unending hymn, calling him to something deeper. He took a deep breath, smelling the earth and dew intertwined, feeling a tug at his heart. The streets were alive with people, each one a soul with their own journey. He glimpsed a man sitting alone on a bench, head bowed, wringing his hands in distress. Compassion stirred within James. What if God was nudging him to reach out? He hesitated, doubt creeping in, a flurry of uncertainty about his own ability to make a difference. But then, he remembered the stories shared inside the chapel today, the testimonies of faith igniting transformation. Encouraged, he strolled to the man. "Are you all right?" he asked gently, taking a seat beside him. The man looked up, surprise mingled with vulnerability in his eyes. "I lost my job," he whispered, his voice thick with despair. "I don't know what I'm going to do." James felt his heart ache. "I'm sorry," he said, sincerity filling his words. "Have you prayed about it? I don't know if prayer can change anything." The man said, his voice trailing off. "Prayer isn't just about changing circumstances. It's about finding peace in the storm," James replied, recalling the divine peace he had felt just moments before. "Would you like to pray together?" The man hesitated, then nodded, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. They bowed their heads, and as James lifted this new friend in prayer, he felt the weight of worry lift. There was power in those simple words, a reminder that every journey begins with a single step of faith. When the prayer concluded, the man sighed deeply, an expression of relief washing over his face. "Thank you," he said, throwing a grateful smile. "I feel lighter." Suddenly, James realized something profound. This was his calling. It wasn't just about grand revelations or outstanding moments. It was about the everyday miracles that occurred when he stepped outside himself. His heart raced with excitement. If this was the beginning of his journey, what else did God have in store? As he walked back home, the streets felt different. Each passerby was a story waiting to unfold, a chance for connection and hope. His steps quickened, fueled by a sense of purpose. Yet, deep within, his questions remained. What other steps awaited him? What else could he do to serve? With every revelation, he felt a new layer of desire emerge, an urgent yearning to dive deeper into this faith journey, to pursue those nudges of the Holy Spirit. It was clear, the divine had more to unveil. What would happen next? What extraordinary moments lay in wait, just beyond his next step of faith? As his spirit soared, he knew the adventure was just beginning. The sun was beginning its descent, casting a golden hue over the streets, shifting the atmosphere around James even further. His heart pulsed with energy, ignited by the encounter with the man on the bench. But shadows still danced in his mind. What about those who resisted the touch of faith? What about doubt? It felt like a tangle of questions threatening to pull him back. He turned down a side street, less traveled, where the bustle of the main road faded into a comforting stillness. James had often found solace here, as if the very air held whispers of hope and divine secrets. He paused, feeling the urge to connect deeper. He leaned against a cool stone wall and took a moment to soak in the quiet presence surrounding him. Suddenly, a playful bark broke the silence. A small dog bounded around the corner. Trailing behind was an elderly woman struggling to keep pace. With grace that belied her years, she called out, "Come here, Ozzy." Her voice was warm, a nurturing melody even in the midst of struggle. James felt an instinctive pull, an urgent nudge from within. Before he knew it, he approached the woman. "Can I help you with him?" he offered, kneeling to deter the dog's antics. "Oh, bless your heart," she exclaimed, her eyes gleaming with gratitude. "He just loves to chase the shadows." As she spoke, James noticed the depth of her life etched into the lines of her face, a testimony of joys and trials. The dog finally calmed down under his gentle hand, and James felt a surge of warmth. This moment was an echo of what the chapel had imparted, a shared connection made possible through kindness. "Thank you so much," she said. "I've been feeling rather alone. My husband passed last year, and Ozzy has been my only company." Compassion filled James anew. "I'm really sorry for your loss. It must be very hard. Some days are better than others," she said with a faint smile, though her eyes betrayed her struggle. "I try to keep busy, but some nights the silence gets loud." In that instant, James saw a flickering candle within her, a reminder of the light even in the darkest moments. "Have you thought about reaching out?" "It's difficult," she replied, hesitation rising in her tone. "Maybe a prayer would help?" he suggested softly, sensing the familiar stirring again. For a moment, she studied his face, then nodded slowly. They stood together in the fading light, Ozzy at their feet, as James led her in a heartfelt prayer. The words flowed effortlessly, and he felt the Holy Spirit weave through them. He could sense a vulnerability in her that craved the divine connection, a longing to re-experience the warmth of companionship not just with the world, but with God. As the prayer ended, a peace settled around them, enveloping the woman like a warm blanket. James saw her take a deep breath, as if she had just been reminded how to feel light again. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes sparkling with unshed tears. "I didn't realize how much I needed that." With renewed determination, James shared his thoughts. "This can be a journey together. We can seek community, find ways to uplift one another. What do you think?" She smiled, strength returning to her frame. "I think that sounds perfect." As they exchanged contact information, a breeze rustled by, carrying away the last light of day and awakening a new conviction in James. Each small step of faith, each act of compassion sparked divine transformations that resonated beyond their immediate circles. What ripple effects could arise from this shared commitment? What else was in store for him, for her, and for the countless souls still waiting to be touched. With every heartbeat, the question echoed. What did God want him to discover next? As twilight deepened, painting the sky with hues of lavender and crimson, James felt a lightness in his spirit. The brief encounter with the elderly woman had sparked something deep within him, a quiet resolve to step into his purpose. To embody the love he had felt in that simple prayer, he began walking again, the path illuminated by the last rays of the sun. The world was shifting around him, and he sensed a renewed purpose guiding his steps. Each passerby became a canvas of potential friendship, each moment ripe with possibility. With Ozzy trotting beside him, the elderly woman Margaret, he had learned her name, shared a few stories from her life. Her laughter mingled seamlessly with the chimes of the distant church bells. They spoke of love, lost and found, of the ties that bind humanity in sorrow and joy. James hung on her every word. It became clear that every life intertwined, each thread vibrant and significant in the grand tapestry of faith. Seeing the world through her eyes, he sensed the weight of her solitude, felt the flickers of her hope. He remembered his doubts but pushed them aside, allowing love to take center stage. The Holy Spirit stirred again, whispering encouragement, urging him to embrace this chance for connection. As if responding to an unvoiced prayer, he shared his own struggles, revealing how he, too, had once wandered through shadows of doubt. I often forget, he confessed, his voice softening, that we're all on this journey together. Sometimes the little acts of kindness can illuminate the darkness. Don't you agree? Margaret nodded, her heart visibly warmed. Yes, and it starts with us. Prayer here, a smile there. That's how it grows, she replied, her voice imbued with conviction. That evening, under the luminous moon, James found himself at the chapel again. He entered the cool space, his footsteps echoing against the aged floor as he navigated toward the altar. Kneeling, he offered up both gratitude and a plea for guidance. The air thickened with a palpable presence, and he felt a gentle whisper. Your faith will be your strength. In the stillness, he reflected on Margaret. Surely there were many others like her waiting for a kind soul to intersect their lives, yearning for acknowledgement and connection. He could not escape the truth. It was time to act. But what would that look like? Suddenly, the idea struck him like a flash of lightning. He envisioned a gathering, a community night, a space for people to come together, to share their stories and support one another. His pulse quickened, excitement thrumming in his chest. What if they could pray together, laugh together, heal together? The very notion filled him with purpose, yet darker thoughts still loomed, fear of failure, of rejection. But he was reminded of every prayer answered, every connection made, every heart healed. Trust, he heard himself proclaim in that sacred space as dawn approached. A fire ignited in his soul. Was this the journey God wanted him to embark upon? Creating a refuge for those seeking light? He began to narrate his vision in a soft breath. A community unbound by judgment, defined by love and acceptance. With every heartbeat, excitement coursed through James. He could almost see it, the faces that would light up when they felt welcomed, the stories shared over warm cups of tea, the collective prayers weaving a tapestry of unity. He exited the chapel, and the first light of dawn began to peek through the clouds. A new day was dawning in him, and the blooming possibilities seemed endless. But as he walked back towards his home, a question stirred in his heart. Was he truly ready to lead such a charge? What if he had the power to create a ripple effect of divine awakening? And just like that, he asked himself, what steps must I now take to bring this vision to fruition? As the sun stretched its golden arms across the horizon, James felt a deep stirring in his heart. Today felt different, like the world was on the cusp of unveiling something extraordinary. He could feel it, the pulse of possibility, urging him to rise and act. With Ozzy eagerly bouncing beside him, James set out to meet the challenge brewing in his spirit. He thought of Margaret and the connection they had forged. She embodied hope, and now he yearned to ignite that same hope in others. His first stop was a quaint coffee shop, a welcoming corner where the community often gathered. The bell chimed as he entered, and the familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee enveloped him like a warm embrace. A couple of patrons glanced over, curiosity sparkling in their eyes. "James, you look energized," called out Lucy, the barista, with her cheerful smile. "Thanks, Lucy. I've got some ideas brewing that I'm excited to share," he replied, his voice tinged with enthusiasm. James settled into a cozy chair, spurred by his vision. What if he took this leap of faith right now? Reaching into his pocket, he found his notepad. He began to jot down his thoughts, each scribble igniting a flicker of inspiration. He envisioned prayer circles, shared meals, laughter filling the air like the ringing of bells as he outlined the details. An unexpected thought struck him. How can I invite others into this vision? He wanted to open this space but soon felt overwhelmed by doubt. What if no one came? What if it fell flat? He closed his eyes, inhaling deeply. In that silence, he remembered the gentle whisper from the chapel. Your faith will be your strength. With renewed vigor, he wrote down "invite the community." His heart raced. With each word penned, the enormity of his plan began to take shape. The warmth of divine guidance enveloped him, as if the heavens were cheering him on. He envisioned leaflets filled with warmth and invitation. Join us for an evening of stories, prayers, and connection. Pushing through the fear, James decided to invite the very people who were interwoven in his life. Friends from the coffee shop, neighbors, and those he met on the streets. His heart pounded as he scribbled names. That evening, he dared to share his vision with Margaret first, knowing her wisdom would bolster his own wavering spirit. As they met again in the park, she listened intently, her eyes sparkling. "Oh, James, this is beautiful," she exclaimed, her hands clasping his in excitement. "People are craving connection. You have the gift to bring them together." Encouraged by her support, James continued to share his hopes. "I believe we can create a safe space, one filled with love and understanding. I want each person to feel seen and valued." Margaret nodded thoughtfully. "And remember, the very act of gathering is in itself a prayer, a declaration of faith." Feeling emboldened, he walked home with a skip in his step, imagining the faces that would soon gather in the glow of that sacred space. It wouldn't be easy, but he knew that all great journeys begin with a single step taken in faith. Yet, as he reached his front door, a question haunted him. What if my plans reach beyond my wildest dreams? Am I truly prepared for what that entails? James took a deep breath, knowing that the answers would unfold in due time. The journey had just begun, and he felt the pulse of something miraculous waiting to awaken. What awaited him on this path of divine revelation? The following days flowed like the gentle river, each moment rich with anticipation and uncharted dreams. The sun climbed higher each morning, casting rays upon James that felt warm and undeniably comforting. He found himself weaving through the streets, encouraging a spirit of hope in each encounter. The coffee shop became his office, a sanctuary where ideas danced in the air around him. Lucy watched as the days unfolded, her laughter ringing out each time she filled his cup. "What are you working on today, oh visionary?" she teased, a playful glint in her eye. "Just gathering courage," he chuckled back, a sense of purpose beginning to anchor in his heart. He spent hours creating flyers, carefully choosing each word to convey warmth and welcome. As he worked, he felt as if he was crafting an invitation not just for others, but for his own soul to welcome whatever was to come. One evening, he decided to spread the word beyond the shop and called up his dear friend Malik. The sound of Malik's voice was an instant lift, rich with enthusiasm. "Count me in, James. I'll bring my guitar. We can have some live music." The commitment sparked joy in James's heart, a melody in a sea of thriving possibilities. The next few days cascaded like rain, this series of divine connections falling softly upon him. He met with Hannah, an artist whose vibrant paintings adorned the walls of the coffee shop. "Hand in hand, we can create a sacred space for art and prayer," she suggested, a bright smile breaking over her features. Meanwhile, news began to spread. The excitement among friends and strangers mingled in the air. Each soul touched by the prospect of gathering felt like an awakening. Word of mouth turned into whispers of encouragement that bolstered James's resolve. Yet, beneath the surface, a quiet anxiety lurked. How many would actually come? Would his vision of community hold? One afternoon, while taking a brisk walk with Ozzy, James felt a sudden breeze, sharp and refreshing. The trees swayed as if reminding him of the purpose rooted deep in his heart. He paused, gazing at the expanse of sky above. Lord, he murmured, give me strength. Help me to be a vessel, ready and willing. That night, sleep came slowly, yet in the stillness, a thought enfolded him. Each worry and fear transformed into prayer, a heavenly dialogue that soothed his spirit. He drifted off, wrapped in promises of possibility. The day of the gathering dawned clear and bright. James awoke with an exhilarating mix of excitement and nervousness fluttering within. He dressed mindfully, wrapping himself in a sense of purpose as he prepared his heart for the connection he hoped would unfold. Each tick of the clock echoed loudly as evening approached, and the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. People began to arrive, faces brightened by curiosity and hope. They greeted one another, hearts open and willing. James could barely contain his joy as laughter bubbled over, filling the room with warmth as he stood at the center, surrounded by souls eager to share their stories and prayers. A sense of divine presence enveloped him. The moment felt magical, yet the whisper of a deeper mystery loomed. Was this simply the beginning? He could feel a stirring in the air, a promise that the journey was just unfolding. With every smile, every laugh shared, James realized that perhaps something much greater was being crafted, a tapestry of lives intricately woven together. But, as the gathering began, James could not shake the question. What unseen forces are truly at work in this moment? He took a deep breath, surrendering to the divine presence that felt close, yet elusive. This gathering was more than he had ever imagined, and perhaps it was only the first step into a much grander adventure. As the evening settled around them, a hush fell over the gathering. The air was thick with expectation, as if the very walls of the coffee shop were holding their breath. James felt an inexplicable pull, a calling that drew him deeper into this moment, into the heart of connection unfurling before him. Malik was strumming his guitar gently in the background, the melodies mingling with laughter and soft murmurs. Each note seemed to resonate with the spirit of those present, wrapping everyone in a shared blanket of sacred intimacy. James's heart swelled as he watched friends and strangers connect in laughter, embracing the spirit of hope he had envisioned. Welcome, everyone, James finally called out, his voice steady, yet brimming with emotion. Tonight, we're not just here for music or art. We're here to share our stories, our dreams, the very essence of who we are. Let us create a space where our hearts can meet. The room erupted in applause, and he could feel the warmth of encouragement wash over him, filling the corners of his doubt. James watched as people settled in, forming small circles of conversation, eyes sparkling with the light of discovery. He felt a presence around him, urging him to speak more, to guide this unfolding without controlling it. One by one, people began to share their journey's struggles of faith, moments of grace, stories that intertwined into a beautiful narrative of humanity. Tears glistened in the eyes of his friends. Laughter erupted from the depths of shared pain and triumph. Each story and memory added another thread to the tapestry being woven that evening, creating a fabric of community bound by shared experience. James moved among them, listening intently. He noticed Fiona, a quiet soul he hadn't expected to see, sharing her experience of battling loneliness. Her words hung in the air like a prayer, reaching into the hearts of others who understood that feeling all too well. He could see her vulnerability soften the atmosphere, making way for connection, for healing. As Malik's music flowed into the silence, James felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. His gaze shifted upwards, catching the light streaming through the window. Isn't it incredible? He thought. We are all here, united under the same sky, seeking to love and be loved. A sudden wave of peace enveloped him, urging him to bow his head in gratitude. He whispered a silent prayer. Thank you, Lord, for this moment, for the people who have come, the stories that are being shared. Remind us all we are never alone. But just then, a curious chill brushed through the gathering, as if a veil had been lifted. James's heart raced. He sensed something shifting just beyond the veil, whispers of the eternal beckoning for attention. He felt the weight of anticipation pressing down, a silent question hanging in the fragrant air filled with coffee and warmth. What happens next? The laughter began to fade, replaced by a unified stillness. Eyes turned toward him, almost expectantly, as if awaiting a revelation. James's pulse quickened. Was he meant to lead them further? Was another layer of understanding waiting to unfold? He took a deep breath, a flicker of courage stirring within him. "Let us pause for a moment," he announced, the words spilling gently but surely from his lips. "Let us embrace silence as we seek clarity. What is the message God has for us tonight?" With that, the room fell blissfully quiet. He could feel the hearts around him beating as one, each soul longing for divine connection. What was about to be revealed in this sacred stillness? The mystery deepened, and James could feel it curling like smoke around them. He closed his eyes, surrendering fully to the embrace of divine anticipation. The night was still young, yet it already felt profound, and the journey was far from over. Would this silent moment unlock something transformative? Would God show them a glimpse of what lay ahead? The answer awaited, shrouded in graceful suspense. As silence draped over the gathering, a gentle warmth began to fill the room. It was as though the very air vibrated with a higher frequency, beckoning the participants to listen, to lean in closer. James stood, eyes closed, allowing the moment to envelop all present in its sacred embrace. Suddenly, a soft glow seemed to emanate from the center of their circle. Malik's fingers continued dancing over the guitar strings, but now they played a different melody, one that was both familiar and yet newly composed in the hush. The music felt like a divine whisper, inviting hearts to open wider than they'd dared before, revealing hidden corners and secret desires. "Can you feel it?" James thought, sensing the spirit moving among them. He wasn't just guiding a gathering. He was part of something greater. Hearts were becoming unshackled, and the depth of connection created a palpable energy, rippling through the room like a gentle tide. Within that silence, Fiona's voice broke through once more, trembling yet resolute. "Sometimes, I wonder if I am enough, if I am truly worthy of love and belonging. But tonight, I feel something shifting inside me. It's like a light flickering to life." James's heart leapt at her words. It was the kind of moment that felt like divine validation. Others were feeling it too, that sense of breaking chains and discovering the truth of their worth. He could see it written across their faces, an unspoken acknowledgement of a shared yearning for more. Murmurs erupted as people began to speak, one voice after another emerging from the gentle quiet. They spoke not just of their circumstances, but of their hopes, their fears, and the overwhelming weight of doubt that had held them prisoner. Each story breathed life into the room, exploding with meaning, resonating deeply within the hearts of everyone present. "Isn't it incredible?" James thought again, days of isolation and doubt stripped away. Here, in this little coffee shop, we become a tapestry of divine love. The collective vulnerability transformed their gathering into a crucible, melting away insecurities and forging bonds anew. As the evening rolled on and the conversations deepened, he felt the presence of God all around them. It crept into laughter, mingled with their tears, and filled the empty spaces with rich understanding. It was a love that healed, challenged, and transformed. A love that reminded them all that they were never alone. "There is so much power when we share our stories," James said, his voice ringing with emotion. "Each of us has a unique gift to offer, a piece of the divine puzzle to contribute." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "May we never forget that our experiences carry the power to uplift, to heal, and bring hope to one another." In that sacred moment, something profound flickered in the air, a divine expectation like the first light of dawn peeking over the horizon. The gathering felt on the brink of revelation, a promise of change that could transform individual stories into a collective miracle. James's heart raced. The night was leading toward a destination unknown yet palpably close. Yet, there was still an unanswered question lingering. tucked away in the silence. What awaited in this mysterious unfolding? Was there more to be shared? A message yet to be revealed? The anticipation tingled on the tips of their tongues, everyone waiting on the edge of something greater. Would faith guide them into the light? Would the stillness unfold its secrets? The sacred whisper of what lay ahead beckoned softly, shrouded in divine mystery. As the gathering continued to pulse with shared voices and deepened connections, the flickering promise of transformation danced around them like fireflies in the dark. James could feel his heart thundering with a mix of excitement and reverence, the air charged with holy anticipation. A wave of gratitude washed over him, filling every corner of his being. Then, from a corner of the room, a new voice emerged, shaky yet strong. It was Samuel, a quiet man from their neighborhood, who rarely spoke. "I didn't know if I could come tonight. I felt so lost." His words hung in the silence, holding a sacred weight. "But in listening to all of you, I hear a hope I thought I had lost forever." James felt the collective heart of the room surge in recognition. The power of vulnerability transformed their fears into a collective anthem for hope, a symphony of shared humanity. "Samuel," James said, stepping closer, "your presence here is a beacon of courage. We all long for connection, and in these moments we remember we are not alone." Supportive murmurs echoed in agreement, and Samuel's face brightened. The hesitant flicker of hope within him shone brightly, illuminating the faces around him, sparking a courage that transcended individual struggles. Tears welled up in many eyes, hearts resonated with the warmth of shared pain and newfound hope. Encouraged by their kindness, Samuel continued, "I feel God calling me back to my passion for art. I tucked it away thinking it was frivolous, but it feels like it's bursting to life again." Every word unfolded in the air like vibrant colors on a canvas, a vivid reminder of the healing power inherent in embracing true selves. As James watched Samuel step into his light, the atmosphere shifted. The collective spirit seemed to gather strength, the weight of despair lifting as everyone recalled their own long-buried dreams. This was the tapestry of faith in motion, rich and intricate, growing in complexity and color. What if we celebrated these passions together? James proposed aloud, the idea igniting flames of enthusiasm. Let us create a space to share them: art, music, stories to give life to the beauty within each of us. A wave of excitement spread like wildfire, echoed by shouts of agreement. "Yes, we can host an art night," someone called out. The whispers of enthusiasm gradually transformed into excited chatter as more ideas flowed freely, each one resonating with the sacred nature of shared purpose. James felt the sanctity of what was blooming, how their willingness to be vulnerable was opening new roads of connection and outreach. "Together, we're creating something bigger," he thought, the waves of laughter rolling through the gathering warming his soul. "A space that embraces everyone, where we can shine our lights bright." But in the back of his mind, a gentle hum of uncertainty lingered. Would they continue to embrace this? What if the fear of stepping out into the vast sea of the unknown reared its head once again? Yet, as faith surged within him, he trusted the promise that God was present amidst doubts and uncertainties. The depth of the moment wrapped around them like an embrace, and the very essence of love stirred in each heart. "Let us take this leap together," James said passionately, standing amidst his friends in faith. "Let us invite our community to be part of this tapestry. Everyone deserves to experience the divine connection we're cultivating here." He felt their support blanket him, impart warmth of assurance. One by one, nods and satisfied smiles bloomed amidst the laughter. It felt like the voice of God reverberating through them, affirming they were indeed prepared for something extraordinary. As the night wound down, they shared hugs and promises to return, their souls warmed by the fellowship, hearts sparked anew. They had taken the first steps towards community into the uncharted waters of connection and hope. James finally understood. Each act of love, each step of faith, had the power to create ripples that transcended personal grief, weaving them into something beautiful. Stepping outside, he felt the night air embrace him, a gentle reminder of the work ahead. The stars above twinkled like scattered blessings, promising there was always more to discover if he continued to follow the path laid before him. What miracles awaited them down this road? With a heart bursting with possibility, James turned to his companions, knowing they were igniting something profoundly revolutionary. They were a family forged not by blood, but by resilience, hope, and love, a collective of soulmates intertwined in the embrace of divine possibilities. "Let us meet again," he said, excitement spilling over in his voice. "I can't wait to see where this journey leads us." With every word spoken, the promise of what was to come glimmered like the nascent sun on the horizon, rekindling embers of faith and hope for every heart ready to embrace this miraculous path ahead. The divine story was just beginning, and James was ready to live it with every ounce of faith and love within him. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. This is the moment to show your support. Like this video now to feed the algorithm and help us spread the light. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this ending. Your voice matters. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful message with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope. Be a true servant of God. Let this ripple out.